everybody! Surprise,
Oh, look at that.
surprise, motherfuckers!
Yeah, how
Yeah!
about that? Huh?
How about
Now you get to see
that?
like all the horribleness of
uh,
Thanksgiving got stuffed into my office.
dude, what is
So now I
okay?
have to.
Okay, what is wrong with your cat? What is wrong with your freaking cat, man? He just loves to make a mess, doesn't he?
Yeah, man. Look, okay, like for real though. Let me tell you a little story. So we don't do Thanksgiving on Thursday like normal people because most of us work on, we're essential workers, so most of us have to work on Thursday. And so we do it on Saturday, which just so happened to be yesterday. So, in a mad rush to clean everything, they were like, oh, let's just stuff it all in LSAT's office. And so, yeah, now you
Yeah.
get to see all the, you know, good stuff.
But by the way, everybody, my name is Louis IPA, and this is my great co-host here, Mr. Skeleton himself, Mr. Elset.
Yes.
We've been doing this for 2 years, going on our 3 years of the podcast
Oh
next year.
man, yeah,
That's
it's been a great ride too.
absolutely. I mean, we decided to take a break most of the year this year, so that way we can actually bring you like the greatest podcast ever. I mean, I know you guys are used to seeing just our logo and everything, but we wanted to give you the huge surprise and be like, hey, you know what? Let's show them that we can have cameras. And thankfully, Twitch was kind enough to actually give us the beta access to guest star, and we were able to
Hmm.
actually have this, so that way we can actually have both of us in camera, not just me like
Yes.
normal. But anyways, I'm gonna do a little introduction because I know some people are brand new listeners and they never been to the podcast. I'm Louis. I was actually born in the country of Peru. I've been living in the United States for 21 years, and I do streaming on Twitch and soon on YouTube as well. And my buddy here, I'm gonna let him take the floor.
Yeah. So okay, my name is LSAT. You can call me LSAT. Um, People like to call me LSAT. And also, by the way, I'm Force Viper. Glad to be back. And I used to do streaming, but with my work schedule and everything, it's just kind of hectic. So I really only have time to do the podcast on Sundays, which is perfectly fine with me. We have plans for great guests. We've had great guests, and really looking forward to what's coming up next year.
Absolutely, and don't forget that we also have some returning guests as well, like coming up
Hmm.
like really soon. I mean, we don't want to spoil some of the guests that we actually have coming up, but basically, like I wanted to let you guys know that some of the guests that we have that used to be with us are gonna be Wildfire. Wildfire is actually gonna come back and actually be with us, like on the podcast.
Hmm.
And also, what we're gonna do is we're also gonna bring back Sergeant Frank Woods, the original Call of Duty Black Ops character, voice actor. He's gonna be back in the podcast as well, so that's another huge one. We have like so many big names. I mean, I could go all night with all the names that basically we have lined up. And also, I got a couple of guests too that if he wants to share, he can. But if he doesn't want to, I completely understand if he wants to leave it.
Yeah, we're going to kind of until I can get 100% confirmation on everything. We'll just kind of keep that tucked in as a little bit of a surprise for everybody.
All right. Well, I wanted to give a shout out to Force Piper, to Chags, to Nolo, to Wise Man Shade, who is the editor of the Reef podcast as well. GNR Frank here. Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome in. I want to welcome Nolo. I want to welcome Sly, which is a DC. He's actually one of my
We've,
RuneScape
we've,
good.
we've got everybody up in here.
I know everybody's like, you know what? The podcast is back for 1 week. Let's actually
Hmm.
hop on and see what's going on. So I'm gonna give you a brief breakdown of what's gonna happen today. Me and Elsat are gonna try this amazing sponsor of the Reef Podcast and the Lewis IPA channel called Dubby. We're gonna try these packages on those shakers that they supplied to us, and we're gonna actually give you our honest opinion. But before we do that, I wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everybody that still listens to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. From what I saw in the last summary of the last month, you guys actually were able to listen to the podcast at least 250 times, which really surprised me because
That's impressive.
because I thought like just us taking a break would actually like like not have many listeners, but we basically increased our listeners, and
Hmm.
surprisingly enough, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have listeners from every single continent now. How is that amazing? Come on now.
I mean, you can't get any better than that. We're growing. We love to see it, and we hope everybody just kind of rides along with us. And one day when we're at like Spotify with a $500 million deal, you know,
Hey,
we'll remember everybody along the way.
I will always remember everybody, like no matter like how, if we're big or small or anything like that. I mean, everybody that always supports the podcast is just an amazing individual, just because the fact that they take the time off their day to just come and listen in, or even after like we actually do the podcast, like to actually just listen on YouTube or listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That's just like a really like touchy feeling for me. Like I'm actually happy that I'm able to do it. So,
Yeah.
so we got our first question of the day from Enforced Viper. What is your question, my good sir? While he thinks about that question, me and Elsa are
Hmm.
gonna start pouring our water into our shakers, so that way.
Okay, so let me preface this by saying I have never tried one of these types of drinks before. Like, I'm familiar with energy drinks and stuff. The problem with things like Monsters and Bangs and Red Bulls and stuff is that it makes you kind of jittery with the caffeine levels and some of the ingredients in there, especially if you're sensitive to caffeine. But supposedly, this is supposed to be jitter free, and also it says, as a precaution for first time users, if you're not familiar with not used to high levels of caffeine, to only use half of the recommended amount your first few drinks.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and mix mine up real quick.
Okay, and just so you guys know, the flavors that we have is Lewis IPA is gonna try the Dragonade flavor, and Elsa is gonna try.
I am doing Galaxy Grenade, which looks pretty cool.
All right.
So
So we have a
let's give
question
it a
here
shot.
from Enforced Viper saying either Lewis or Elsad, how do you guys prepare yourselves for a live stream being on camera, not knowing how many any people are gonna show up? That's a good question. So
That
I,
is.
I actually, whenever like before I do a live stream, I always like summarize what I'm gonna say to welcome everybody. And the best advice I can give you, Viper, is just try not to imitate everybody like that streams. Try to be yourself.
That's right. Being
Always.
yourself, being yourself is number one. That's the biggest thing.
Always try to be yourself, because if you're not being yourself, nobody, I mean, yeah, people are gonna come in and everything like that, but they're gonna be like, hey, he's actually copying this person, and he's not like doing like the right thing, like he's actually being like somebody else. So I always advise to be yourself.
Hmm.
All right, Chax, you got a question coming up. Let's hear it. And then we also got a question coming up from Splaticus. And Viper says, I couldn't do it. I have stage fright. I'm not afraid.
You know
I'm
what?
not
Let me address that real quick.
Go for it.
For the longest time, I didn't want to get on camera either. I am not exactly uh, Brad Pitt, but you know what I'm saying. As time goes on, you kind of you get used to it. Yeah, it's a little nervous at first. You get the shakes, and you're like, what am I gonna do? What is everybody gonna think? But in the end, you just once you just be yourself and act like yourself, and the jitters go away after a few minutes, and I mean, I still get a little bit of nerves right before we go live. It's just run of the mill. It's just gonna happen.
And
But
surprisingly enough, I still get like the shake sometimes, like, before I live stream, because you never know what to expect. But the question that Chax has here is, what is this product and why are you trying to sell to me? What is so much different than every other energy drink going on the market? So, Elsa, I'll let you take the floor here, because
Sure.
you basically know more about the ingredients and more about
Right.
like the tasting flavor. So go ahead.
Okay, so what's different about every other energy drink? Every other energy drink is loaded with things like taurine and ginkgo biloba and all kinds of crazy ingredients. And if you look on the ingredients list here, everything's simple, easy to understand. You know, just a handful of stuff, vitamins and a little bit of caffeine, and you're good to go. Keep it simple. That's what I like to say.
We got a first time chatter here. We got Sanchicho. He's actually a viewer that I actually met at TwitchCon San Diego. Welcome, Sanchicho, to the show. I appreciate you being here. All right.
Interest.
And Splarticus has his question is: do you have advice for people who want to start a podcast but have no idea on how to start one? To Lewis or Elsa. Okay, I'll take this one if you don't mind.
Yeah,
So,
sure, go for it.
So always think of a neat idea that you like. If you like to talk about art, if you like to talk about from what I saw, you're in your when you come to my streams and everything. If you like to talk about sculptures and things like that, try to do a podcast about art and sculptures. Basically talk about a really unique art or how to make art. Just basically try to have a topic that you really enjoy talking about. For me and my co-host here, we came up with the idea of interviewing people. We love to get to know people. We love to promote musicians when they come in and talk with us, and we just love interacting with people. And now that we're actually going to be in camera, it's going to be a lot more fun. And we have a huge surprise to let you guys know at the towards the end of the podcast. So for now, we're actually gonna have to test our drinks before my water gets a little warmer. I don't want it to get warm because it's actually a little cold, so I actually like it like this. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it. You know what? Let's do it. I've been kind of lightly sipping, but I want to.
All right. Cheers.
Hmm. I like the flavor.
Okay. What do you? For me personally, this flavor right here that I just tried, Dragonade, it tastes a lot like lemonade. I mean, I guess that's why it's called Dragonade. But I mean, it tastes. It doesn't have as much sweetness as lemonade would have. So I actually feel okay. I don't feel like it's a lot of sugars in it. So I mean, I feel fine with this flavor. I really do.
Yeah, and the whole Galaxy Grenade, um, it reminds me of almost like a sweet raspberry tea.
Ooh.
Um, it's lightly fruity and not overwhelming, not heavy on the fruit flavor. That's a big thing that I'm not keen on is like heavy fake artificial fruit flavors. Um, like for example, the flavor blue. That sounds silly, but people when you say blue, the flavor blue, they know what you're talking about. And it's not like that. It's light. It's smooth, and yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
I dig it.
Okay, so we both give it a thumbs up for our
Hmm.
flavors. Our flavors are actually
Yeah.
really good. Definitely. I mean, next week, it's not going to be, of course, on the podcast because sadly, the podcast is not coming back until January. I mean, we
Yeah.
only did this segment so that way we can let you know what's going to happen in the podcast in 2023, what's actually coming up. So there's a long list of things that are coming up. But I mean, we just wanted to do this podcast for you guys so that way you guys know that we're still out there. We're still trying to find more people, not just the same repetitive people, but also have new guests that you guys have not seen yet. And of course, when we have the returning guests, you basically get to see them on camera, and you'll be like, oh dude, that's awesome, that's actually what they look like in camera instead of just hearing their voices. So the question that Sir Nolo has here is: if you have interest in technology at all, what is your favorite kind of technology? How complex do you think it is after all? I honestly, oh, okay. I'm gonna answer
That's a
part of
good
it.
question.
We're
Mm.
having a lot of good questions today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So basically, Nolo, having technology is actually a good thing. You never want to fall behind. you always want to actually stay with technology, because if you fall
Mm-hmm.
behind, you're gonna get lost in a whole tangled world. Like you're gonna be like, where I go, what I do. Like you have to keep up with it. If you don't keep up with it, you're gonna be in a lost world, my friend. So what advice do you give Nolo, Elset?
Well, I believe it's Moore's law that says technology doubles every 2 years, 10 years, something along those lines. I'm still, kind of dealing with the drink here. Um, but technology itself, there's a lot going on. I mean, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. For example, Amazon. You may have recently heard that they laid off nearly 10,000 people, and that was mainly in their tech sector. Uh, for those not familiar, Amazon does a huge cloud service. Like they're up there with Microsoft as far as cloud storage goes. But they let these people go because they've created it. They're working on an AI um, hiring like program that searches through people's resumes and such and decides, if they want to hire them to work at Amazon or not. So they're replacing people with that, which I mean, it's cool, but people are losing their jobs because of this. It's a double-edged sword,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But in general, technology can be a great thing, but you have to be careful,
Mm-hmm.
just
Don't fall
because
behind.
everything 20 years ago, 30 years ago, everybody was talking about, oh, Big Brother's constantly watching you, the government's trying to spy on you. Well, right now, you've got literally 50 different tracking devices on you in your car, on your phone, and nobody thinks twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to be all like the paranoid guy or anything, but those people that were talking about, oh, the government is watching. Well, yeah, they're kind of right. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
And that's why, like, in our Reef podcast, our guidelines is that we never touch religion, we never talk politics, we never talk things like that,
Yeah, we,
because
we we try and avoid those discussions unless a guest would like to talk about something of that nature, or it's part of our guest's job or
agenda.
social standing or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Viper here asked for Elsat or Lewis. What are tips to drawing a crowd, and what are ways of keeping that crowd around? Okay, if you're talking about streaming, the best way that I can tell you is network. Networking
Hmm.
is key when it comes to actually bringing a crowd in. Also, building your community. Another thing too is basically, like, when you get a computer, try to, like, have clips of your channel and post them on social media. The more you post on social media about yourself, like with different things that happen on your streams, people are gonna start noticing, and they're like, oh, this guy enforced Viper, he's really good at this, he's really good at that, let me go check him out. He has a Twitch page, let me check it out. Oh, he has a Twitter, let me check that out. Social media is always the big key, next to networking, and next to, like, being having a consistent schedule helps a lot too, because
Yeah.
people will know, like, oh, Lewis is gonna go live at 2 p.m. today. Let me go. I know he's gonna be live at this time because he put it on his schedule. So
Hmm.
having a schedule helps a lot. So Elsa, you had another point?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're going to be an occasional streamer, like how I used to be, like maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday, that's fine. But if you want to make it a full-time thing, it's going to become a full-time job. You're going to spend 6 to 8 hours a day, streaming, networking, talking to people on Discord, and email, and once it gets to that point, talking to sponsors, and going through pitch meetings and so on and so forth as you climb the ranks. And it's if it's something that you're serious about doing, it's something that you have to make literally your career. You have to focus your entire day around it, and that's for me. I couldn't. pursue that kind of thing, which is why I just once in a blue moon I may hop online, but I do the podcast on Sundays.
And always try to stream games that you actually enjoy playing,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
your viewers see, even if you don't have a camera, basically, like, they actually hear your voice and they're like, okay, this guy is like really down in the dumps. I mean, why would I want to watch somebody that's like, oh, hi, like, all like, upset about things. you wanna
Hmm.
you wanna, like, show a good impression to your viewers. You want to actually show,
Right.
like, hey, this guy's energetic, he's interacting with his chat. I want to hang out with him because he's very positive, he's very, like, like this. Unless, like, if you have something going on and everything like that, but you never want to stream if, like, something IRL happened in your life and you're not 100%, like, up to streaming. Don't stream that day,
Hmm.
because that will affect, like, your outcome when it comes to, like, streaming and everything. All right. So, man, we're actually getting a good bit of questions today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, next question from Chax. I think this is for both of us. So, I guess I'll go first.
Hmm.
He says, "Do you have any regrets in life?" Honestly, Chax, my biggest regret for me is that back then when I started streaming, I basically, like, had, like, for a second.
Anyways, while we wait.
Sorry about that. So, okay. So basically, like, the biggest regret for me was literally, back then when I started streaming and I became affiliate. I would actually average so many viewers, like, I would say at least 50 to 60, and everything, like, was going great and everything like that. But something happened IRL that I had to stop what I was doing, and literally, like, because of that, I had to stop streaming, and that basically lowered, like, my path to partnership, like, getting, like, more consistent people, and basically pretty much building a community. That's what really hurted me. But now, like, that I'm coming back again, and now that I have a set schedule, it's slowly getting there. But I mean, I'm more about having fun now. Like, I'm not about, like, the numbers anymore. I mean, I used to be about that because I was worried, like, man, is somebody gonna come in? But now that I learned, like, how to be better, I basically focus more about, like, being myself, having fun, like, interacting with people, and just enjoying the ride. So, Elset, what about you?
Yeah. So I have um I have this thing about life, you only live it once, the whole YOLO thing. Now I'm not saying go out and do crazy things all day, but I don't really have any regrets. If actually as a matter of fact, I take that back. I have one huge regret and I want to talk about that. I regret not getting more stuffing and turkey yesterday, leftovers, because it's all gone. And that was some really good turkey and some really good dressing and stuffing. And man, I really regret not making a plate and setting it aside.
Oh, man, that is tragic.
It is. It's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, in life, no. Like I said, I have this policy. You only live once, so you might as well have a little fun. You know, sure, we all have to work to pay our bills and pay our rent, mortgages, keep the lights on, keep food in the fridge. I get that. I understand it. But, sometimes you just have to have fun on your time off. And whether you do that by playing video games or whatnot, try not to have any regrets. Okay, and we have Enforced Viper. He says, she says, they say, I can't pursue it full time. I couldn't physically stay in a house every day, all day. My OCD and ADHD would go nuts. And that's understandable. That's why I always tell people if streaming is something that that you're considering, do a little bit at first, get a little taste of it, see if it's something that you like, and go from there. Try it one day a week for an hour or 2 hours a day. And if you like it, you know, kind of add more time to it, add more days. As revenue starts coming in from that, maybe you can, make enough to counter your current employment situation and, go from there. But at least give it a shot for an hour or two, one day a week.
See how you feel, and if you feel comfortable with
Hmm.
doing it, then
Absolutely.
keep on doing it.
Don't just go out and spend like $5,000 on gear and a rig and fancy mics that light up and expensive computers and all that and try it one time and just be like, oh man, nah, it's not my cup of tea. All you need is a video game console or a decent laptop, phone, something like that, and you know that's how you get started.
Either that or just stream straight from your console. Because
Absolutely.
nowadays PS4s, PS5s, Xbox,
Hmm.
they all have incorporated streaming on their systems, so you can easily stream from your system with no problem. Because I'm gonna tell you this right now, Piper. I myself started with a console itself, with just a PS4 with no camera, no nothing, just showing my game itself with having the chat on the side, like on my actual console, and seeing the chat right there. That's how I
Right.
started.
That was back in the beginning of the Twitch days. Yeah, I remember that. I actually did that myself. That's how I started at first. I couldn't really talk to anybody. My headset was all weird and wouldn't work right. The microphone wouldn't work. But you know what? I had one person on my stream that said hi, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going? How cool is this?" I'm like letting everybody in the world watch me play video games, and it just kind of hooked me from
Mm-hmm.
there.
And one thing that you should always remember, everybody that wants to stream, you're gonna encounter the good people, which is amazing. That you find the
Hmm.
great people. But of course, with every good thing, there's a bad thing. So you're gonna find those people that are gonna affect your life, in a negative manner. That's when you
Hmm.
actually ignore those people and you basically just throw them out to the side. Like, ignore them. I mean, if somebody's being rude in your channel, if you don't have moderators, just basically ignore that comment that they left. If you can't ban them, I mean, you can easily just ignore the message, and then when somebody comes in that you actually like, talk to the person. Or like, if they keep doing it, then just tell them, like, listen, I don't like the fact that you're doing this to my channel. Please go
Don't
somewhere
feed the
else.
trolls.
Yeah,
Do not feed the trolls.
exactly. Because that's what makes them strong. All right, so we have another
Hmm.
question here from Nolo. He says, I don't know how to explain it well, but here it is. What is your point of view nowadays, technology company? Most of them we see, most of it NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and major companies, but what if
Hmm.
there are companies that creates affordable and effective compared to other products? Because I was thinking of make my business for America and other countries as well.
Mm. That one's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take a stab at that, or you want me to
I think you should
answer
take
it?
that one.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, you've got tech giants, right? You've got AMD, you've got Nvidia, you've got Intel. Sounds like we're talking mainly about GPUs at this point, but in broad terms, you've got these Goliaths in the tech industry. You've got Apple, you've got Amazon, you've got Intel, AMD, and it's hard to compete against these companies because they've been established and they have been around for so long. They're literally sitting on piles of money. And it's not an easy thing if you do want to try and compete. But if you have a valuable product and it's priced right and it's affordable, it's cheaper than the big guys, you shouldn't have a problem selling it at all, especially in today's tech market. Tech is hot, it's the way of the future. It's not like we're just going to give up computers and cell phones and Bluetooth speakers and stuff like that. It's going to be around for a while. And so, if you have a viable product, I say, give it a shot, try,
Mm-hmm.
see what happens.
I mean, I was gonna give an example. I mean, look at Dubby. Dubby
Mhm.
basically
Mhm.
started I think it was like 1 2 years ago, And
Hmm.
I mean, they basically like started promoting the product and everything, showing like what they have and everything. And a lot of people thought like for the longest time like oh, that's a scam, blah blah blah. And now like that people see like, oh shit, like they have actually a partner Discord, they have like all these things going on, and now people are actually paying attention to it. But I mean, that's like what happens when you actually plant. I always say when you plant a seed on the world, and it actually blooms into something positive, you're gonna get so much positivity come your way. Because I mean, you're basically planting something that's actually gonna be useful and it's gonna be resourceful, and people are gonna love it. And as long as you keep doing what you love, you're gonna make like
Hmm.
you're gonna make a living on you in your life.
Hmm.
Yep. So another thing too, ladies and gentlemen, is that we actually have a discount code for any of you guys that actually want to try out Dubby for yourselves.
Absolutely.
You can go to the website that our moderator chats actually put on the chat, and make sure you use the code Shark Reef at the end of the at the checkout. Is at the checkout, right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so right at the checkout, you put Shark Reef discount code, and it gives you a 10% discount, like for your purchase. And you can always like let us know like how you feel about it if you tried it. Let us know like in the feedback, and also
Yep.
for all you guys that basically are not here on the live broadcast of the Reef podcast, you can always catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on Apple Podcasts. You can catch it on Spotify.
Hmm.
And soon, really soon, I mean, I'm not saying like super soon, but I mean soon, we're actually gonna be actually on satellite radio on Sirius XM as well. So
Yes.
that's actually
Yes.
that's actually one of the big surprises that we have, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually gonna be on satellite radio. So
Yeah, we're in the middle of talking to some people and making some things happen. And if things go in the right direction, like we hope they do, we will be on Sirius XM radio.
yeah, that was definitely. So we had a question here from Chax that says, "What is your end goal in life?" So I'm gonna let you answer this one first, and then I'll go.
Okay. Okay, so my end goal in life. I guess from a strictly scientific standpoint would be to reproduce and have offspring that carry my genetics around, I guess. But for me personally, um, my end goal is actually, I'm pretty content with where I'm at. I just bought a house, in the middle of renovating it. Um, I own a couple nice cars, have a great woman in my life, a great partner, and two cats, and a great job. It's a little stressful at times, but great job. And I think I'm about happy with where things are going for me now. Don't get me wrong, I would love to win like $1 billion in the Powerball or Mega Millions, and retire to an island. Actually, you know what? I'm not more much of an island guy. I'm more of a like a nice log cabin up in the woods with a scenic view and a hot tub kind of person. And I think that's what I do. Buy like 800 acres out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains and just you know
Just
live life.
live peacefully, basically, with no
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, if I want to, I want to be able to walk outside
Hmm.
naked, and not have to worry about my neighbors calling the cops on me. Just
Hmm.
saying,
Yeah.
just throwing that out there.
Hey,
So,
hey, I mean the that's one thing that you guys actually should know. The podcast went from being like oh like chill and everything like that to 18 plus. So if
hmm,
you actually hear us cursing, you don't have to worry, because I mean that's
yeah.
how now like the podcast has evolved from being like a basically like PG podcast to basically mature. mature.
I mean, we try and keep it clean,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not gonna be all like trashy about it, but there will be 4 and 5 letter words that come out,
Mm-hmm.
and adult themed topics. And so, that's just part of growth. You
Mm-hmm.
just got to kind of roll with it.
Mm-hmm. Now, for me, for my lifetime goal, I honestly like want to see myself actually finish a degree on college, of course,
Hmm.
in radio and communications, and I actually want to go into commentating for actual sports like NFL, soccer, like any sport in general. Just like just be on the spotlight commentating a sport would be really fun. I mean, of course, yeah, I would like to like yourself. I would like to have a a kid of myself of my own with a future person that I'm with, and of course, if it's a boy, that would be a blessing because right now my brother actually had four daughters.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, so basically he threw the white towel. He said, "Okay, that's it. I can't anymore." So so basically he said it's up to you to carry the family name, and I told him well, if I have like a boy, I mean, just don't be jealous that I have a boy. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. I mean, I always let everything come my way. I don't basically expect that. What I say, don't expect the unexpected. So
Yeah.
so basically, I mean, I saw that on a movie actually. It was Spider-Man No Way Home. They were saying don't expect don't expect the unexpected, and then I don't remember the other line. We have to use it on the next podcast that we do. But yes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so another big announcement that we have is that I know a lot of you guys are watching, here on live on Twitch and everything. I know you guys are asking questions, with the channel point redemption. The reason why we have that now, like in big caps, and there's much description about it, is because we encourage everybody to use Google Chrome when we come back on January for the podcast. I'll repeat
Hmm.
that again. Make sure you use Google Chrome when the podcast comes back in January. The reason being is because once you download Google Chrome, we're going to be able to actually have you come up to the stage with us while we're
Hmm.
live interviewing somebody and ask the question in camera to the guest that we have. How cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are taking it to the next level. We are bringing all of you kind people that have supported us and bringing you up onto the stage with us. So once we start our podcast back up in January, we'll be bringing you on stage to ask questions to the guest. You don't have to, of course, if you don't feel comfortable doing so. But if you would like to speak your voice or, come in through video, you're more than welcome to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good way to actually have you amazing viewers that are actually watching the live version of the podcast come up and actually meet your idol. Like if we're actually interviewing like a big celebrity or like
Hmm.
somebody that you want to talk to, then like, hey, come on up, ask your question live. You don't have to ask it on a text. I mean, and like Elsa said, it's not mandatory, but I mean we encourage it so that way you actually feel like you're part of the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Just if you're comfortable, of course. If not, you can just type out your questions like you've always done, and we'll get to them as we do.
Sounds good. Most definitely. So, is there another question? Yes, we do have one from chat. He says, if you could go to
Hmm.
any college or university, where would you want to go? Okay, if money wasn't an issue for me, I personally would love to go to a school in the West Coast area, and that would be either California, like USC, UCLA, or Cal Berkeley. Any universities in
Mm.
California, I would actually love to go.
Oh man, you're gonna leave the SEC conference just just to go over there.
Well,
That's okay though. I'm not hating. I'm not hating. Um, but I will answer that question as well. If I could go to any college or university, where would you want to go? Well, you can't really. You can kind of see it like right there. Um, I went to the university that I wanted to go to. I went to the University of Florida, and go Gators. We're not going to talk about the Vanderbilt game. Yeah, this season has been pretty rough. But yeah, I went to University of Florida and couldn't be any happier. Great money spent well. It wasn't super expensive at the time. College is ridiculous now, especially for like state universities. Oh man, it's insane. I strongly recommend for those of you out there that are considering going to college, check out your community colleges first. Do a year there,
Mm-hmm.
and then transfer to state if that's something you want to do instead of spending $20,000 a year plus on your first year only to find out you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to your local community college and Pell Grants and financial loans and stuff like that, and grants. Pay
Mm-hmm.
a couple $100, couple $1,000, and give it a shot first.
I always say like go to 2 years of community college because you're able
Hmm.
to actually catch up with your general courses that you need, and then once
Right.
you tackle those down, then you actually will have a more cleared mind of what you want to do with your life, and then like basically
Hmm.
transfer the last 2 years to the college that you want to. Like that's always
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. That's unless you get a full ride scholarship right out of the gate when you graduate high school, I strongly, strongly, strongly urge everybody to consider uh, going to a community college first for the first year,
mm,
maybe even 2 years to kind of get the feel for it and see if that's really what you want to do.
absolutely.
Also, community colleges. For those that aren't looking for degrees in academics and arts and sciences and such, STEM the big thing now. Community colleges support a lot of great industrial programs, such as like HVAC, welding, auto repair, things of that nature, that they just don't offer at these big state schools and universities.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And there's always going to be a need for plumbers and welders and AC repair dudes. You know what I'm saying? So if that's something that you're interested in, instead of like sitting in a desk all day, if you're better working with your hands, and you know, consider a community college. Give it a shot.
Most definitely. All right. So, is there any last minute requests that you guys would like to ask us? You can ask us right now because we're getting to our limit marker, which is actually going to be
Hmm.
in a few minutes. But again, I want to thank everybody that has come in tonight to actually ask us questions. If you guys actually want to check out the podcast in other platforms, I will be posting the YouTube link for you guys. The podcast will be edited by Wise Man Shade and will be available on YouTube as soon as possible. We just hit the 200 marker on subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing.
Hmm.
And also, like it's gonna be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, so you can listen to it. But I mean, if you decide to come to the live, hey, that's where you're actually gonna have the most fun because you're actually gonna see us on camera with the guests. You're gonna be able to go up there, up on stage with us and ask a question as well. All right. So we got
But no matter what, we appreciate everybody's support, whether you're listening to us live or whether you're listening to us recorded later down the road. We appreciate the support from each and every single one of y'all. Without y'all, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Mm-mm. We need y'all here because you guys are what basically you guys are the foundation of the podcast.
Hmm.
You guys are what make the podcast keep going. That's what that's our basically our drive. We're like, dude, people enjoy the podcast. We're gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep getting stronger, and that's why we took this year off so we can actually brainstorm things that we want to have come up. So that we were like, hey, we're ready to take on the world, ready to tackle this, and the good thing is that I mean it's a good and bad thing, but basically what we plan on doing is we plan on doing 2 podcasts a month, and the reason why we don't do 4 like we used to do every month is because we want to actually be able to spend time with our loved ones. We want to be able to hang out with them on our off days, and of course it's gonna be first week of the month we're gonna have a podcast, third week of the month we're gonna have a podcast. But I mean,
Hmm.
if it's like for example for the anniversary of the podcast coming up, of course we're gonna do a podcast there because it's the anniversary. But I mean, when it comes to special holidays and we want to wish you all happy holidays, we're gonna do one as well. If there's a special guest that says hey, I can only do this week, then of course we're gonna be able to move around and get the guest to get comfortable and be able to be like on the time that they want to be at.
And also, we wanted to focus more on quality and not so much quantity. We don't want to feel like we have to just constantly grind out every weekend and start making stuff that's just not as good as our normal content is. So we decided to kind of, just dial it back to two a month and focus on more quality
And
and
th-
quantity.
and this actually helps us as well plan like the questions that we have for our guests,
Hmm.
so that way we're like, okay,
Absolutely.
we have this guest coming up, we have like the whole week to come up with questions, and it's quite a toll for us to like have everything in 1 week. So that's why me and Elsa actually discussed this over the year, and we're like, hey, how about we do two a month, so that way like we don't hurt our brains as much, because sometimes it's a little difficult, guys, to like find questions that we want to ask the person, because we have like real jobs, we have like everything going on. So I mean, it's a little tough to like do everything at once. So that's why when I told my co-host here, like hey, let's do two a month, me and him were both like hey, that's a good thing to do. We need
Yeah,
this, so
absolutely.
that way we don't over exhaust ourselves.
Yeah.
So next question, Chad says, the most influential people in your life and how they impacted you. I would
Mm.
say, for me, the most influential person that I'm actually gonna give an applause to has to be. I know he's here somewhere, probably listening in. Has to be my good friend General Frank.
Aw.
The reason why he's the most influential person in my life is because he's the one that introduced me to live streaming. If
Okay. All
if
right.
if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. I would not be doing live streaming. I would not be doing podcasting. I would not know what to do. He is the main reason why I'm actually here for you guys, because he's the one that showed me like hey, about Twitch, about this, and like he's the one that showed me the ropes. And if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. So shout out to GNR Frank. You're awesome.
Hmm. Now, for me, myself, the most influential people in your life and how they impacted you. I would honestly have to say that would be my father. You know,
You wanna get on plus?
I I grew up uh, watching my dad work hard, provide for family of four, and it's he's just a role model for me, an icon,
All right, so
and
we're gonna give him a plus real quick.
it's just like I don't know. I understand some people don't have the greatest family life, and I can understand. I get it, but my dad was he's the one that taught me to work with my hands and how to fix things and how to work on things around the house and for those skills and those abilities, I can never be thankful enough. I really appreciate my father and everything he's done for me and got me to the point to where I am today.
I gotta say, I mean, besides like like our most influential people, we
Hmm.
have tons and tons of people that we actually appreciate, and we
Oh
love
yeah.
the fact that like that y'all here. I mean, I could go, like I said, all night with a list of people that I could actually be like, hey, thank you so and so, thank you so and so. But
Hmm.
we don't wanna make y'all stay here for like hours and be like, oh my goodness, so many people.
Right.
Because if you actually follow me on social media, I have almost 6,000 followers, and I wish I could thank all of them in one group text and just be like, hey, at everyone, thank y'all for the amazing support in all these years. But sadly, Twitter doesn't allow me to like do so many tweets. After a while, I think there's a limit. But I want to personally thank all of you for being so incredible with me and Elsat here.
Absolutely. Like we said earlier, we couldn't do this without you, the audience. We could have the greatest guests in the world on, but You know, if there's nobody there to listen, watch, ask questions, it's just not the same. It just doesn't work.
Absolutely. We basically every time we see you guys come in and ask questions and everything like that, we love that because I mean we love making things that make you guys happy. And you
Hmm.
guys coming in and asking questions and like interacting with us, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. Well, with that note, I wanna. How do you? Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so we have
Hmm.
one final question from Chax. He says, "How do you define success?" I don't think success comes easily. I think success is basically built upon on how you react to it. I mean,
Yeah.
for me personally, even though I have all this amazing setup now and everything like that, I'm not satisfied yet. Why? Because success is keeps getting higher and higher. I mean, I want to keep aiming higher. I don't want to stop where I'm at. I want to keep going, growing, and being I'm a better person than what I am right now. And I just feel that with every stepping stone that I actually hit, I always try to avoid and basically just keep being successful. But I mean, I am thankful for everybody, of course. But I mean,
Mhm.
I just, I mean, that's the easiest way I can think of. I mean, just keep on climbing. The ladder's never gonna stop.
Right. And see, this is where it becomes a slippery slope because success can't really be defined, like did you do good at your job? Are you great at your job? That means that technically you're successful. But, are you happy with your job? But you're great at your job, but you're not happy. Are you truly successful? It's more of a philosophy question. And some people, for some people, success is never truly accomplished. When you have extremely wealthy individuals out there that are making hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and which is more than anybody could ever need, but they keep going because they don't feel like they're successful enough, and that's sad because that's just a dream that literally 99.99% of the population of earth would love to have, and just a little taste of that.
I mean, I
And
could give an example. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He's
mhm,
40 plus years old, and
mhm.
the guy is still playing. Why? Because he enjoys the game and he wants to find more success. I
Right,
mean,
but I mean, he's successful already. He's won what, 6 or 7?
7 trophies.
Yeah, 7 Super Bowls. So, dude, like, you know, I think it's time to call it a day and let some new talent in. But I mean, that's just personal opinion, sports talk. But success wise, yeah, that's a perfect example. Like he's won like the ultimate American football game 7 times. Do you really need to win it an eighth time to make yourself even better? You know,
But it's
it's
just,
and it's one of those things.
but it's just his passion for football that keeps driving him in.
Right, right, absolutely. And see, that's what I'm saying. It's a double-edged sword because it's like, yeah, you're really great at what you do, but do you need to keep doing it? Because everybody knows you're already in the history books. You're already super successful, you know. But that's the conundrum.
And
That's where the philosophy comes in.
Wiseman Shed just actually proved a good point. He says success is personally defined. Dude shouldn't quit to let new people in. The other people need to if you can't stop them, then you
Hmm.
have to find a way to stop them. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that, and that's what I'm saying. That's the other side of this. Like, yeah, you know, he's great, and he should call it a day. But on the other hand, he's great, and other people should aspire to try and beat him and be better than him. And success, man, it's crazy.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to wrap it up here. Thank you so
Hmm.
much for taking your time to actually come in tonight for this special edition of the podcast. We hope to see you all back on January, on the first weekend of January. It's gonna be a great one. I cannot wait because we actually gonna start up with a bang on January. So you guys better get ready for that. The first podcast will actually be January 1st,
Hey,
New
how
Year's
about that?
Day. That's actually incredible. So that's crazy. So we're actually gonna be probably like a little bit around this time that we started.
Mhm.
That's when the podcast is gonna start because of course we're gonna celebrate New Year's with our loved ones the night before. So
Right.
we wanna be able to like have time to incorporate. But of course we're still gonna do our homework and talk to this person. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we might actually wait like give you all like a little tease and be like, you know what, this is gonna be the tease week before we actually do the podcast on the 8th, and we're gonna give you a hint. Like we're gonna drop hints throughout the week, so that way you guys are ready for the podcast. All right, so I'm actually about to sign off with you guys. My name is Louis IPA, and this is my co-host.
Mr. L. Sat.
Or like I always tell him, LSA to the T.
That's right.
Signing off from the Reef Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a good night.